Welcome to the show, Natasha.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This is
So
fun.
you just celebrated a year sober?
So I will be a year sober from alcohol, um, February 27th.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
made you want to quit alcohol?
So, I was finding myself drinking, you know, for not no reason, but just on a regular basis, just because I couldn't handle life. Um, Alcohol was never really my vice, but it's a band-aid. So if you're addicted to one thing, you're gonna just find a replacement. It's how much control over it has of you, I feel like. Um, but I felt like I was losing my control with alcohol because I've had a lot of control over it, but especially in the last, 10 years or so, I've had a pretty good hang on it. But I was slipping, like I was going down. I'm like, this isn't cool. What am I doing? I was drinking like every single day, even just one or two drinks. I was still doing it every single day and not for fun. Or, just the taste of alcohol, to, feel the way that it tastes. You know what I mean? Like good
Yeah,
alcohol.
that makes total sense.
Yeah. So, and I found myself, it was a Sunday afternoon, like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And I'm like, ooh, better start drinking to clean my closet. So I went out to my refrigerator. I had these disgusting, I still have some in my refrigerator actually. They're so gross. They're these Jack Daniel cans of like seltzer water.
Yeah, that doesn't sound appealing whatsoever.
They are terrible. Terrible, but I thought they would be a good mixer, like to mix with something else, you know? I was like, "Oh, this will make a good little cocktail." They're gross.
Yeah.
So I found myself, and this was February um 26th. Yeah. Um Saturday or Sunday, I think it was a Sunday. And I'm in my closet and it's a mess. And I'm there and I'm chugging this fucking can of this disgusting grossness. Angry water. Okay. It was angry water. And just to clean my closet, and I caught myself like mid chug. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, wait, like, how many days have I been drinking in a row? And I'm like, oh shit, I don't know. Weeks, weeks. And I was like, oh, I gotta get control over this. So, and I was kind of seeing somebody actually at the time who had been sober for several years. And um, there were different times. There was another time that he gave me inspiration. And I feel like when he came back around in my life, it wasn't to date him, it was to, have that moment where the universe aligns somebody in your life and is like, hey, like, follow that particular thing, or, or lesson learned, or whatever. The universe brings that person in. And I feel like it was the perfect opportunity for that person to be in my life at that particular time because he was sober. So it was easy at first. Like, I was like, you know what? Like, I dig this guy. So, like, maybe I'm going to be sober too. Like, what am I doing drinking? Like, what am I doing? Like, this isn't even cute and this isn't even good. Like, this is gross. So, I didn't tell him or anything that I was quitting drinking or anything like that. I just kind of like, I told my sisters, I was like, I don't think I'm going to drink anymore. Like, I got a little bit of a problem. And then just every week I was like, man, it's been a week, been 2 weeks, been 3 weeks, 5 weeks. And now like almost a year. And I'm just like, yeah, man, like I just wanted to make sure that I still had myself in check because Out of all the things that I've had an issue with, alcohol was the least of them, but
It was the least. It
yeah,
was
like
the least. Oh,
it
yeah.
was becoming like a main character in my story, and I was like, wait a minute, I know better.
So
I know.
you got 10 years clean though too, right? That's what you just
Yeah,
celebrated, 10 years.
yeah.
Now what did you get clean from 10 years ago?
Okay, so I have a few different sober dates, and
I have
this
three
one
different ones.
I have a couple, yeah. I have a couple. I think did I send you the screenshot of all of them on my app because I'm
No.
terrible with I'm terrible with dates. You know what I mean? Like I'll remember a time of year and then I'm like, okay, was that 2014, 2015? Oh shit, nope, that was 13. You know what I mean? I got to think a little bit. I lost a few brain cells along the way. I'm sure of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just so 10 years ago, I was a hot fucking mess, a hot mess. And um, I don't talk about this enough and I don't talk about it a lot, but the fact that it's 10 years now just is, I don't know, the universe is like, it's time. It's time. So I feel like our time here is just aligned up perfectly.
Yeah, for those who don't know, we met like 6 years ago when I was newly sober.
Yes, it was. It was that long. I was a hot fucking mess then too, man.
We only ever smoked together.
Yeah.
We didn't drink together because I was still sober from alcohol. Um,
Yeah.
but I still smoked, and I still do smoke to this day.
Yeah. Same.
Um, but for me, it's been 6 years away from pills in April 25th, and then
It's so long.
sober from alcohol 4 years on February 29th. My wife and I quit drinking on Leap Day. So now we get to celebrate once every 4 years.
I love that. Congratulations. I'm
Thank
so
you.
proud of you. Every time we talk about it, I'm like, yeah, man.
And I just got 60 days clean from abusing my Ativan.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome. That Ativan, man, that was one of my first ones. Over 10 years ago. That was one of the first ones. That was when I was just dabbling, you know what I mean? When the doctors first starts writing you those prescriptions, like, oh, you're depressed, so let me give you Prozac, Zoloft, you name it. Like, oh, those aren't working, you're still having anxiety, let's give you, your Klonopin, your Ativan, your Xanax.
yep.
Um, Klonopin was my drug of choice. I loved my little Klonopins. I would chew them and all day long, just sit them back there in my teeth and just um all day. I would just be popping them. And it started because I was, depression. I was having babies. So this was going back before, like this was more than 10 years ago. I was having kids.
Let's work our way up to it then. How about that? Where were you born and raised?
I was born in
Central
Carlisle.
PA? Okay, so Central PA.
Yep, yep, yep. I was raised in Edders, so raised in the Edders area
I'm not familiar with that area.
towards York. So it's a little town. Well, it's a mixture of small towns in one small town. It's one of those quirks that this area has. But we're in between Harrisburg and York on 83. So like in that area.
Okay, I'm in Bloomsburg now.
Yeah, you're out there, right?
I'm like an hour and a half north of Harrisburg,
Okay, okay.
roughly, because I lived in Hershey when we met, and then I lived in Hershey when I met my wife. She was living in Bloomsburg, and we had met on Tinder, and it was like 52 miles on the Tinder thing that we happened to meet. So we met through Tinder uh,
Yeah.
6 years ago. It'll be 6 years in April or five. It'll be 5 years in April.
She's a babe, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you. Um, so that's where you're born and raised. When were you introduced to drugs and alcohol? How old were you?
I mean, I was pretty young. High school, actually, middle school. drank a little bit here and there, you know what I mean? Experimented with my friends, nothing crazy, nothing wild. I wasn't uh that bad. Just dabbled along, but I was more a follower. So whatever the people around me were doing, I did too. Um, I have some funny stories from when I was young, experimenting
Like
with
what?
weed and smoking weed in the trailer park. So I grew up in a trailer park, and we would go up in the woods, and we would take weed from our family members. I'm not gonna say who, but that's what we did. And
Yeah.
would go up in the woods and smoke a little reefer, here and there. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing, but we were trying.
Using the
You
soda can.
know, stealing beer or alcohol from our parents, replacing it with water, just a little here and there. Wine coolers were a thing. I was stealing wine coolers from the cooler every time my parents had a party.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
definitely, 8th grade. I remember
Yeah,
drinking a lot of wine coolers in like 8th grade for some reason. I mean, I've been drinking since
so
5th
cool
grade.
too.
I started drinking Captain and Coke in 5th grade. And then by the time I was in
Such a
6th,
young man, early.
I know, yeah, I started really early. And then I started drinking alcoholically when I was 12. A friend of mine passed away from a car accident, and I said to my other friend, like, hey, if we drink, we're gonna feel better. So that's me drinking alcohol at 12 years old. I was drinking to numb and not actually
Oh,
feeling the grief.
yeah,
And that story went on for 20 years for me, where I didn't process grief, and all I knew was to drink or get high about it.
yeah,
Now with weed, if I'm going through emotions, I don't smoke them away because I want to be able to feel my feelings. Like I didn't get sober just to have my feelings numb. Like I got sober so I could feel shit.
right on. Um, you gotta heal. You gotta go through the healing. And as you're going through the healing process, like you hit all these like, you know what, I can quit drinking right now, or I can eat better, or whatever it may be. Like you you become more confident in taking control over your life and knowing that you have the power to have control over addiction, and addictions in all forms. So drugs, alcohol, food, sex, like all of the things that one can be addicted to, even fucking energy drinks or coffee, you know what I mean? Like,
It's the truth. Candy. I mean, people are addicted to
right,
sugar candy and shit.
right. Addicted to fucking McDonald's. Like, we got Americans out here addicted to McDonald's. They want their nuggies.
Yeah.
Okay. They want their nuggies like bad, in a bad way. I like some nuggies too, you know what I mean?
I like the dinosaur ones.
Dude, speaking of that, I saw this little video today on Facebook, and it was a plate of mashed potatoes and like little dinosaur nuggies and like broccoli trees and like the gravy river, and I was like,
Oh
yo,
my God.
I need to have a party where I create that, like, as like on a big island. Like, I was like, that's dope. Like, if I ever, I'm not gonna get married and do all that stuff again, but if I did, just, and I had like a reception, which I wouldn't, like, I would have that. Like, that would be dope. Imagine,
My
right?
my brother always said he was gonna have a mashed potato bar at his wedding.
Right. No, I have done, because I'm a photographer, so I've done weddings. Mashed potato bars are a thing, and they are perfection. You got the bacon, the cheese, the veggies,
Oh,
all the things, all the toppings.
yeah,
Do
yeah.
it.
So when would you're drinking like or I don't you still smoke and I don't see weed wasn't even an issue for me in high school.
No.
Um when was drinking like more like the every weekend kind of thing where you were doing it more and more?
So I had spurts of drinking. Um, I remember in like Younger ages, I don't really think it was a problem. I feel like I was just drinking to be cool, you know what I mean? I wasn't I don't feel like when I was younger, I wasn't dependent on it. So, like, I feel like the dependency and the need to, s m mask things came at an older age. Um, Definitely when I was 21, before I got pregnant with my son, I was terrible. I was drinking every chance that I could. I was just living my best life, and, very irresponsibly. I was just drinking way too much, partying, what 21-year-olds do. Then I got pregnant. I didn't drink. In between my that pregnancy, it was probably the normal amount of drinking. The drinking really didn't pick up until, um, m my 2nd and 3rd son. In between those pregnancies, it was bad, and not only was I drinking, that's when I was prescribed, antidepressants and Ativan, and I was then picking up drinking, on a heavier basis,
Which like
especially.
blackout city. I mean,
Yeah,
mix some benzos with alcohol, you just black out.
rough. I was going through some major things in my marriage, affair, just disconnect in my marriage. We were young. We were so young. We had kids young, and then we just kept having kids. We had 4 kids together. Um, and we got married right after we had our oldest, and completely two different worlds too. Both of us, completely two different worlds. And I went through a lot as a kid, a lot of trauma, but not like an extensive amount of trauma, like just enough, you
Okay.
know, to
Anything you wanna talk about specifically?
you
Or you're
know,
not yet?
it was divorce. Parents were divorced very early. My mom had me very young. She got pregnant with me when she was 17, or she had me at 17. Um, and my dad was abusive. Um, and I saw some shit, man. I saw some shit at a very young age that, like, it was there. And, like, for so many years, I kind of just, like, put it back there. My dad was in and out of my life, for the most part, out. Me and my mom's relationship growing up was very, weird. We would get along, and then we would have these battles, and I always just felt, like, disconnected from my mother, which is a different story, and I don't wanna get into that at the moment, but, there was just those things. There were,
Yeah, being a
you
child of
know
course is always tough, and
Yeah,
then not really having your dad in the picture that much, you can feel like you can get away with more. So it
yeah.
makes sense that you were not acting out, but okay with just following along because you didn't really know any structure.
No, and, following was something that I did, and I elementary school, I just wanted to find who I was, find where I fit in. Middle school, oof, rough, man. Like, I really followed. High school, later on in high school, I started to find my way, but I was mean, man. Like, I was kind of a bitch, and I'm sorry to anybody that I was a bitch to, because I know I was, but it was hurt, man. I was hurting, and y'all bullied me. You know what I mean? Some of them, high school was a little rough. And a lot of it, my own insecurities on top of, not bully, but like just mean girls.
Yeah, no,
Mean
yeah.
mean dudes, man. Y'all are mean. Um,
I was bullied too. That's why I drank more.
yeah, and I was the chubby, trailer park girl that was a little weird and a little bitchy. You know what I mean? Um, Later on in high school, I found my way with people outside of school. I worked my ass off, but when I wasn't working, I was, drinking on the weekends with friends, drinking during the week. That was late high school. I
Drink.
remember this one time, my sister ratted me out. Um, I had empty liquor bottles in my closet. That I drank, and because I was drinking, taking some swigs in my bedroom at night, um that was just because I feel like it was because I felt like I was cool, you know what I mean? Like
You could
then.
you could go in school the next day and be like, guess what I did last night?
Right, like yeah, like because that's what everybody was doing, but I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to have friends. I was just trying to find my way, figure out who I was, rebel a little, you know. But I don't remember where I left off before I went on the high school rant. Where were we? You got to keep me on track.
I got you. We were
I'm
talking
a
about
girl running naked through the forest, kept up on ADHD medication.
I got you. We were talking about how in between your youngest and your third, how your drinking was picking up.
Yeah, so I was picking up drinking, um, and taking the meds. It was after I had my daughter is when things went south for me. Um, it was beyond the extra partying or the extra rum and coke that I drank, because I love me some rum and coke, man.
Yeah,
Um,
and Coke.
yeah, or it could be that Admiral. He was fine too, you know what I mean? It didn't matter, honestly. Now it would. Now it would, but it didn't then. Like I was like,
No, whatever they buy for you at the store.
whatever. Um, so after I had my daughter, she was born at 27 weeks. We both almost died. It was bad. I had an abruption. I was bleeding everywhere. It was terrible. It was scary. It was so fucking scary. Um, and my older kids, especially my oldest, like he remembers that stuff, like what that traumatic night.
Is your
We got
daughter your youngest?
Yeah, she's my youngest. She's 11 now. Um, she she and I survived. It's a miracle. You know what I mean? Like we were meant to survive. Like we were so meant to survive, and I was so meant to have her, because while my life got flipped and turned upside down after I had her, and I went to the deepest darkest moments of my life, I'm here now, and I get to show her strength, remind her of her strength, build her up to be a powerful human. And she fucking is, dude. Like, she's a powerhouse. Like, she's incredible. Like, so fucking incredible. And we were meant to survive that night. And I was meant to go through the next couple years there where I didn't know. I didn't know I was going to survive. So I had her, she had to spend some time in the NICU. I had her at 27 weeks. She was very premature. She was 2 pounds. Um, and, there was a couple moments where the doctors were like, she's going to have all these problems. There's this, there's that. You have to think about all this care. Next thing you know, things are beeping. She's on this machine. She's on that machine. She's being taken off this. You know what I mean? Like so many scary moments. Me driving up there, taking care of 3 children. My marriage still rocky. Like we just kept having babies and going on vacations and him buying me things. Everything was fine. You know what I mean? But it wasn't. It wasn't. The pain that I felt from different things. And I'm not going to out that right now. But There were things in my marriage that I did, he did, and it was painful. Now I've got this newborn baby in the NICU, 3 kids at home. I had them all 2 years apart. You know what I mean? Like, and I had no idea how to handle any of that. I didn't know how to handle any of it.
No, it's
Um,
no manual for having 4 kids back to back like that.
like I lost my shit. I that was the start, and it wasn't because of the kids. It was me. It was me. I had no idea how to handle emotions because I wasn't taught. And I'll be honest with you, like my mom taught me how to be a mom in one sense, but not in a loving and nurturing sense. More of just like get the shits done, and you know what I mean. Um, and I didn't know what I was doing with my emotions, my children. Like I was just like, what do I do with a husband? You know what I mean? Like I have all these life things happening and I don't know how to handle it. I don't know how to feel it. I don't want to feel it. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah.
want to feel it. I don't want to feel any of this. I just want it to all go away. How do I make that happen? The antidepressants. At this point, I am right after I had her, I was on Ativan and drinking. And I remember the weekend before we brought her home. Huh?
I'm listening.
Did you hear that voice pop in?
Yeah.
Was that you?
No.
Okay. Somebody speaking to us then. Okay. So it was like the weekend before we brought her home. She was in the NICU for 6 weeks. So it was the weekend right before they were like, she's going to be home. Well, we went to Gettysburg to celebrate with friends of ours. I got wasted, like white girl wasted in Gettysburg. Wasted. Um, it was kind of just a downward spiral. After bringing her home, I was picking up the drinking. The Ativan wasn't doing it for me anymore. So now what? Now what? Fast forward a little bit. Doctor's like, okay, well, you're at the highest dose of Prozac, the highest dose of Ativan. I can't go any higher. Like, we've already tried every single antidepressant that I can give you. Like, I'm, as your family doctor, am maxed out. You need to go see a psychiatrist. Okay. He'll numb it all and I'll talk
Yep.
about shit because I feel like shit. Like, I feel like there's shit in there. Maybe if I talk about it for once in my life, maybe that'll help. And I love a med. And I had the support of my husband. Like, yes, that's exactly what you should do. Okay. So that's what I did. And um after months of going to a psychiatrist, I was on crazy amount of medications.
This podcast is also sponsored by BetterHelp. If you are looking for therapy and not able to get something right away locally, you can do that with them. Within 48 hours, you can find a therapist to get on telehealth with you. I mean, I haven't heard anything but great things from people that have already done it, that watch my show or listen to my show. If you're looking to get 10% off your first month, you can go to betterhelp.com/MJsPNPMCA. That is betterhelp.com/MJsPNPMCA.
So not only was my family doctor still prescribing me Prozac, not Ativan, still Prozac. I think we took the Ativan away. There was a moment I was still taking Ativan and Klonopin.
Yeah.
Then I went to the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist starts diagnosing me with all this stuff because I'm telling him my life story. You know what I mean? And he's like, well, how does that make you feel? And I'm like, well, like shit right now. like shit right now. And I tell him about my mom and I tell him about my growing up. And then he's like, well, you got multiple personalities. You got this, you got that, you got this, you got, and I'm like, whoa. And he's like, you need this. And I'm like, okay, like I am fucking crazy.
Doctor.
Like you're the doctor. I'm, a young mom just trying to figure things out, And I ended up being on 9 different medications at one time. So I'm on all these medications. There was somebody in my life at the time that I was around all the time, and they were living in my home because they needed a place to stay. So I let them live in my home. And, I was all hepped up on all these medications and drinking. So the drinking was a problem at this point. And they're like, hey, I'm just going to jump right to this. Hey, I have this suboxone. Do you want it? And at that moment, I didn't know what it was, nor did I give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really know what it was. I didn't really know, like I knew what it was for, but I didn't know what it was. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, she's getting it prescribed. We're good. We're good. I love me a prescription med. Like, you know what I mean? Because any chance I had them. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, let me take this. She's like, just put it on your tongue, live your life. And I'm like, okay. That day, is the most fucked up day in my life. Not the most actually, but it's up there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember a lot, but I remember driving very far by myself, throwing up while driving. I'm drinking water, but throwing it up while driving down 15. Okay, just driving. I got lost in Hanover. I had no cell phone reception service. I had no service. My phone was dying. My phone, I was lost in like the backwoods parts of Hanover. Okay. I had no clue where I was. My phone was dying. My cord wouldn't, all these fucking things. I don't know how I got out. I don't know. I figured it out. But I was definitely meandering way too far from home. I came back home because then I started to feel better. You know what I mean? Like I stopped throwing up. And I was just vibing. Like I was out there. And then I got home. And that's all I remember. I don't really remember anything else. That's basically it. It's one of those like days where it's just like a blur, but you know that happened. I sometimes see parts of different places when I was fucked up that I'm like, I was fucked up there for sure. I did something there and I don't know what, but I know I was there. So I got back home and I said to the person living in my house that gave it to me, I said, I really liked the high of that, but I didn't like that I was throwing up and nauseous. That's too much for me. Do you got something else? And she's like, yeah, I got the pill form. We can get it. We got to go here, there. And I was like, all right, cool. I was like, I want that. That's what I want. I want that. I love a pill. And she's like, all right. And, I did that for a few months. I was just snorting up the pills.
The Subutex pills?
Yeah.
Damn.
I was crushing them up and just snorting them up. I started with, putting them in my mouth, letting it dissolve, eating them, whatever. And then I just was snoring. She's like, just snore. I'm like, all right. What do I know? You know what I mean? You're the drug addict, not me.
Yeah.
At that point, I still did not think I was a drug addict. I'm like, I'm just a mom trying to, not feel all these feelings. Okay. I don't want to deal with all of this. This is too much. So I did that for a few months, drinking and taking all those pills for a few months. I did that until, and I remember this one time, um, I had to go to see the psychiatrist. I had an appointment. I was going like twice a week to see this guy, old guy, terrible, terrible, terrible. So this one time I go and I'm like, this is before the Xanax. So I'm already out of it. The Klonopin, I'm eating that like Pez, okay, every day. I fucking loved Klonopin. The taste of it, all of it, I would put it back in my teeth, my back teeth, and I would just all day long. I just fucking loved it. Little green ones were the best. So I go to the psychiatrist and I'm there and I'm like, he's asking me, are you drinking? And I was like, yeah, I'm drinking. I am drinking. He's like, okay, well, you're not supposed to drink on these pills. I was like, but I want to. So I'm gonna, and I am. And he's like, how much? I tell him, how much I'm drinking. Drinking a good bit there, sir. Doc. And I'm having really bad panic attacks. Like really bad panic attacks. Like the panic attacks are way more than what they were. You know what I mean? And he's like, well, here's the script for Xanax. Okay. Haha, nice. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I'm maxed out, man. Like, I feel nothing. I felt nothing. That's when like weird shit was happening, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't feeling nothing. I was a zombie, you know what I mean? Zombified. Now this part, I don't remember hardly anything from this part of my life. Like blurs, you know what I mean? Like it's such a blur. People have told me, yeah, you met me. Like I met you. No, I never met you. No, you didn't. No, I don't remember. I was so far gone on all these different medications. I was hallucinating, and the doctor was like, "Oh, well, you're schizophrenic." And like, but really, the hallucinations were coming from medications that I was on that I wasn't supposed to be on, and this is beyond the stuff that I was snorting up my nose. You know what I mean? This was the prescriptions like causing me to have like all these fucking like moments. That's when the self-harm started. I was doing little things at that time to harm myself. um it was wild. And then there were bits and pieces of that. The one time I went to the psychiatrist, I nodded out on the couch. I just nodded out on the couch. I just remember that like wake up moment when you're like, and he's like, "Are you okay?" Yeah, man, I'm fine. I'm just really tired, Like, what the fuck? So I carried on about this. My husband and I, like, he was like, "You got to stop doing this. Like, you got to stop doing this." And I fought with him, and it's like, "I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm not crazy." I know this doctor's saying I'm crazy, but look at all the pills I'm taking. Like, I'm fine. I was clearly not fine. Um, he's not the one who got me to stop. There was this day, I was hiding it from him. So I told him I'd stopped and I didn't. There was this day I got some from her and I said, "This is it." Like, though, they're like, "This is it." She's like, okay, whatever. But I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." I go up in my room, I crush it up on my dresser, and like I couldn't wait to have it. And like I'm just like, ah. And I go to do it, and my kids were pounding on the door. "Mommy, mommy." you know, baby's crying. And I put it down. And I was like, I gotta stop this. Like, I have to stop right now. Like, not tomorrow, not the next day. Like, I have to stop this shit right fucking now. Like, I need to get rid of this. I need to get rid of her. Like, I need to fucking stop this. Like, something's not right. Like, my babies, like, it was like their scream was my call. Like the universe was like, I'm gonna make these little babies like scream for you. And they did. And it fucking woke me the fuck up, dude. Like, I threw all that away, like everything I had. I said, I got to stop this. There was an incident between the people that were living in my house that were supplying me with it. So we got them out of the house. Like right after that, like a couple days later, it was rough. Those first couple days, I was still taking my other medications. But I stopped doing that. And I was like, I need to stop this. You know what I mean? And something happened with the psychiatrist, something like, I think I bounced my check. Like, I wrote him my copay like the week before and it bounced or something. So, like, he was like, well, we can't accept you as a patient. And I feel like that was so meant to happen for me because I was like, okay, well, I'm going to just get off these medications. 10 years ago, this month, I laid in my bed for an entire month and got myself off of lithium, Respirol, suboxone. I cut
Dangerous
back.
to do by yourself.
Yeah,
Like, you could have died.
I know.
You probably didn't know that then, though, I'm assuming.
I didn't know. I had no idea. I feel like if I would have cut out Klonopin cold turkey instead of just cutting back, I probably would have had some serious issues or died.
Yeah.
I remember bits and parts of it. I know that it didn't feel good. And I'm still, the memory is got, like, the amount of lithium that I was taking, and I can't even tell you how much it was because I don't even remember, but I know that, like, every couple weeks that I went, like, he was raising it up and I was taking it 2 times a day. You know what I mean? Taking it, you know, and then adding this and adding that, and it was just like nonstop. So I got off of that. And at the end of that moment, I went through psychosis. I was really harming myself at that point.
That was the Risperol. The Risperol can cause psychosis when you get off of that. Because my first fiance was bipolar schizophrenic, so
Yeah.
she was on a bunch of those medications, and we talked about if she was to stop cold turkey, how she can go into psychosis and then really turn her schizophrenia up to like a whole other level.
Yeah.
So I'm very well versed without going to school for being a psych man.
And I'm not even schizophrenic. Like, I was on these medications and I didn't need to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I didn't need to be. All I really needed at that time was somebody to give me a fucking hug. You know what I mean? And guide me to heal. And be able to guide me into feeling my feelings instead of, you know, pushing them down and blocking them with all this other stuff. And at that point, you know, psychosis is fucking real. I tried to I didn't want to live anymore. There were a lot of moments where I was ready to not live
I always say I didn't want to kill myself, but I didn't want to be conscious anymore.
Yeah. There was a moment, there was an attempt, and I was saved by my guides and my angels and God and all the holy things, you know what I mean? Whatever is up there, you know. whoever and whatever is guiding me, the whole universe, you know, there's a whole tribe just guiding me and, well, guiding all of us, but we're not going to go into that. I'm not going to tell other people what guiding them anyway. Um, but I life didn't get easy at that point. You know, there were ups and downs, and that's why I have so many sober dates, different sober dates, because right after my marriage ended, literally the month after, I left my husband and my kids during psychosis. Um, I it was, it's not my proudest moment. Um, and I did it very selfishly, but I also I wasn't safe to be around. Um, and then I went out and I was just trying to find um something to fill the void. Got into a very abusive relationship. Um, we actually met right after me and him split. After I finally found my freedom. We met me and you, yeah, we met very early in me finding my freedom from that relationship. And in between that relationship, there was different things. I got you know, clean off of um, opioids. Like I was hard on the oxy. I was being prescribed it, um, but I was dependent on it. Like I needed it every day. Um, and it was just like one thing after another. That's been 7 years. 7 years. This past November was 7 years.
That's so
Uh,
do.
yeah, what?
That I know from experience at rocks oxys, the blue 30 milligram ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my downfall for a long time. That was my addiction for 10 years. For my
Yeah,
from my entire 20s into being 31 and a half years old, it
yeah,
was every single day I needed this in my system. And every minute of every day was thinking, how am I going to make money? Who am I going to get it from? When can I get it? And how fast am I going to do them?
yeah,
It was every day for a decade. And the shit stopped being cute. Like you said, it just wasn't good anymore. And I was
yeah,
like, I gotta fucking stop, and I gotta do this for me. And then I went out to California, and then
yeah,
we met like a couple, probably winter time of 2018 into 19, because that was my first year of sobriety of being in central Pennsylvania. So we would have met, and I know it was winter time when we met because you had that sketchy ass apartment steps. Those
yeah.
steps were so sketchy.
So sketchy, dude. One of my best friends, one night, it was a drinking night. It was a drinking night, but she went boom, 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 right down on her ass. Now it did bruise her tailbone, and she's gonna see this. She's gonna watch it, and she's gonna die laughing when she hears this part. But thank God she got that big ass. You know what I mean? Like she got one of those booties. Like every time I see it, I just I'm like, yeah. She got one of those booties, and thank God she does, because if she didn't, she probably would have broke her tailbone. But
Yep.
she just bruised it a little bit, like.
She got that back.
Listen, I died laughing with those sketchy ass steps. I ran down those so fast a couple times, all mad.
Oh my
Um,
God. Those steps were, I mean, and it was when I met my wife, her steps were super sketchy too. And we just left that place like 5 months ago. And now we
yeah.
have an elevator and shit. We're fancy.
Mm,
Now we're in the indoor apartment.
she's out.
Yep. We got this new apartment, 3 bedroom, 3 bathroom. So like all three of us have our own bathroom.
Nice. Nice.
So now you're now that we've caught up a little bit, you have your clean date, which was 10 years ago from being prescribed everything and anything.
Yeah.
And you have your clean from pills date 7 years ago, November.
Yeah.
And you have your alcohol clean date, which is February 27th.
Almost a year. Yeah.
By the time
And
this airs, it'll be a year.
yeah.
I got
Yeah. Oh,
I got faith in you.
And so the last time I had Klonopin was 4 years ago. So I had a moment. I slipped and I had a moment. It was a controlled moment. Uh it was a controlled moment. But I had that. I had that moment. So 4 years ago, um, and I was okay with, you know, because I don't call it a relapse.
I call it
But
lapse.
it was one of those moments, and I did it responsibly. It was I it was it was really bad. I had some things happening. It was um so yeah, 4 years. It was right, holy shit. I think it's 4 years right now. I have to, because it was right before COVID.
So that COVID was March of 2020.
So, but it was like that February. So I think it's yeah, that
That's 4 years.
yeah. So I had a moment, and before that, it was a couple years. Okay, so it was like a couple years, and it's one of those ones that I kept with me. So I was prescribed it, um, and the doctor was like, take them as needed, and I was like, okay. Um, I still have the prescription. I have it. It's one of those things where like I know where it's at. Most of the time. ADHD, so sometimes I extra hide things by accident. Um, but so I knew I had it, and I had a moment. I had shit happening in my life. Um, and I said to my friend, one of my dearest friends, I said, "Hey, I'm only going to take one of these. I need you to take the bottle though. I'm just going to take one. Um, and I just want to lay here." I was living with her at the time. I said, I need to just lay here and just, I can't. Like, I can't. And she was like, okay, are you sure? She's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I am. I have to. But I want you to take the bottle. Don't give me the bottle until I'm, for a few days at least. Let me. And she's like, are you sure? And I said, yeah, I am. I was 100%. And we talked about it. Like, we had a big talk about it. Like, it was a big deal because yeah, I didn't feel safe with myself. You know what I mean? So, I went to bed. I took one, gave her the bottle. I said, I'm just going to go to bed, and tomorrow's a new day, and I will feel this tomorrow. But today I cannot. And so I did, and I haven't touched it since. I have it. I know where it's at. And every time I have those moments where I'm like, ah, I'm like, no. And I don't even think about it anymore. Like, it's just so like, it's a joke to me. Like, I'm good. I'm good. Like, I never want to go back there. And I've learned since then, I had my spiritual awakening right around the same time, um, give or take a couple months there. And uh, I said, I'm going to focus on healing. I just need to focus on my healing. I need to focus on letting go and heal, and I can conquer anything. And that's what I fucking started doing. Just healing and finding me, loving me, having the confidence in myself again, to take back my power over people that don't serve me joy, addictions, fucking food, like all of it. Just take back my power, with healing. And that's why I'm sober. That's why I'm sober. Yeah.
Now, do you use Do you fellowship at all? Do you go to like meetings, or is it more like, because my wife uses shadow work, and I feel like
Yeah.
you two are very similar people,
Yes.
both witchy.
Yeah. I do a lot of shadow work.
That's
You
what she
have to.
does.
You have to. To heal, you have to do the shadow work. And the shadow work is what makes you uncomfy. Because you gotta face those things that you put back, that you were drinking or using whatever substance to not deal with. You know what I mean? Like, it's time to bring them to light so you can let go of it. Um,
I got her the Chan. Do you listen to Channy Nichols too? The podcaster. She's an author, but she does all about like astronomy podcast and like she
okay.
does like daily episodes and shit.
Oh
And
yeah.
I got my wife like the 2024 calendar of so that she can follow along like her astrological shit with each day throughout the year. Uh,
Oh,
so I
nice.
wasn't sure if you ever heard of her either, just
Yeah,
because
I'm gonna have to look her up though.
I'll have to send you like I'll
Yeah,
ask her. I have no idea where the hell it is.
yeah.
uh,
Send me the info, the deets.
yeah, I'll get the deets over. Yeah.
Deets.
So you have your 4 years sober date, your clean date from Klonopin, and you're sober today because you were tired of drinking a year ago.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
How's this past year been, or 11 months been without it?
Fine. There were a couple moments where I struggled. Like when I first stopped, I went through a juice phase. Like, um, I would just put juice in my wine goblets. Like I have colorful goblets, vintage ones. So I would put my juice in it. I drink out of them all the time, but um, I went through this like little juice phase, and I don't know if it was just to like have something else to hyper focus on, hyper fixate on, because I mean I do that in general. Um, but yeah, there were a couple moments where I was just like, man, I just really want to crack open a beer right now. You know what I mean? Like, I want to take a shot of that fireball that I have in my freezer just to feel the burn, you know?
Oh, you
Uh,
would definitely feel a fireball.
I know, right? But there I would be. No, I feel good. I feel powerful. I feel deeper in my healing journey. I feel like this past year I was able to heal to get to a heightened level of my healing, and it just feels really fucking good. Um Especially like I've had like some crazy ass times like the last couple months. That's why I couldn't do this a few months ago. My life completely turned upside down, you know? Like the universe was like, here we go. We're just gonna throw you this little curveball. And you're just gonna stay sober and you're going to do just fine. And I am. Like every time the universe gives me something and I'm like, you trying to see if I'm going to drink. I'm not. I'm making it a year. Like I got this. Like, because I
Yeah.
have control over alcohol. I just need to keep that control. And I'm not saying I won't ever drink again. Because I don't know. You know what I mean? I do know that I'm never doing the other shit again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like drinking, I don't know. Me and my daughter were just talking about this the other night. She's like, well, you've already come this far, Mom. What's your whole life? I was like, you're right, though. Like,
Not wrong.
yeah, she's not wrong. But like, I can't say, and I do know that everything else that I've ever done, I won't do again. I won't do again. I won't even. I quit smoking cigarettes too.
Oh,
Um,
another sober date.
Yeah, I quit smoking cigarettes 5 years ago. I don't know. I have to look. I always have
You
to
had
look.
already quit No, no, you didn't smoke any cigarettes when we hung out.
Nope, I did smoke then. I
No,
did.
you smoked inside.
Yeah,
You had an ashtray on your table.
always. I have ashtrays everywhere. I collect them.
I remember you had a big like glass one or something like that.
Yeah. No, I know probably.
Yeah.
Uh, but I definitely smoked then. I didn't quit smoking. I think it was, you know what? It was November 5th or 6th of 2019.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. I just cut down. It's still hard. I only smoke in the car now.
It is hard.
So I only smoke if I'm driving. I don't smoke like throughout the
That was
day.
my favorite time to smoke too.
It's
Um,
the hardest for me to quit. I was on Shantix to help me quit smoking, and it
yeah,
worked. I don't like go outside for cigarettes anymore. Uh,
yeah.
but like when I'm going to drive somewhere, I keep a pack of cigarettes in the glove box or in the center console,
Yeah.
and
That's
I'll break
what I did
one
with
out.
my last pack.
Yeah.
I just, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and tell me about yourself more because we never really talked like this about recovery. It was more like what was on TV. So I appreciate you taking the time, Natasha, and being so open and honest about your story because I know it's not easy, but it's part of like the healing. Like you
Yeah, it is. It is. And it was time to share some bits and pieces of me that there's a lot to share. So we can do a part two.
will
Uh,
have to. There's
yeah.
there's one girl, she's been on my show 6 times.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, there's always more to tell.
Oh, so much. So much.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.
All right,
All right.
bye.